The server rack hummed like an angry wasp nest at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. I was 3 hours into fixing the city's main database when my phone buzzed against the metal shelf. The notification glowed in the darkness of the server room. "I'm leaving you for someone who actually makes me feel alive." I read it twice. 3 years of marriage reduced to one text message. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting shadows across the endless rows of blinking equipment. "My name is Kian Harlow, and I fix computers for a living." Apparently, I couldn't fix my marriage. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I stared at the message while the air conditioning cycled through its mechanical breathing. Nora Harlow, my wife, real estate agent, ambitious, always talking about wanting more excitement in her life. I thought she meant travel or a bigger house. The cursor blinked in the reply field. I typed slowly, deliberately. "Tell Marcus I said hi." Send. The phone rang within 8 seconds. Nora's voice shook through the speaker. "How do you know his name?" Her panic was immediate and obvious. 3 weeks of careful planning had led to this moment. I let the silence stretch until she spoke again. "Kian, how do you know about Marcus?" "His wife told me. She's sitting right next to me." The line went quiet, except for her breathing. Then the call ended. I set down the phone and looked across the small break room where Elena Voss sat with 2 wine glasses and an open bottle of Cabernet. "Well?" Elena asked, refilling her glass. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she wore the kind of professional outfit that suggested she'd come straight from work. Human resources manager at a downtown law firm, organized, methodical, angry. "She knows we know," I said, taking the wine she offered. "Elena found me 3 weeks ago through LinkedIn. Her message was direct. 'I believe your wife is sleeping with my husband. Coffee?' We'd met 6 times since then, comparing evidence like 2 accountants balancing books. Except the numbers we were tracking were lies, secret meetings, and shared betrayals. Marcus owns Premium Fitness, Elena had explained during our second meeting. 2 locations. Your wife joined the same week he upgraded her membership to Platinum. They take classes together, smoothies afterward. The gym's security footage shows them leaving together every Tuesday and Thursday. They never actually exercise, I'd noted, reviewing the timestamps Elena had obtained through her HR connections. 45 minutes inside, then straight to the parking garage. Elena nodded. I followed Marcus in February. He has a studio apartment in the Gaslamp district. Lease under a shell company called Vitality Holdings. Your wife's mail gets forwarded there. That was when I knew this wasn't just an affair. This was an exit strategy. The server room door opened, and my supervisor, Mick, poked his head inside. "System's back online. You can head home." "Thanks," I said, gathering my tools. Long night. "Tell me about it. My wife thinks I live here." If only he knew how good he had it. Elena waited in the parking garage, her silver sedan parked next to my beaten Honda. The downtown area was quiet except for the occasional police siren and the distant hum of late-night traffic. This city never slept, but it dozed fitfully between midnight and dawn. "Show me the money trail again," I said, sliding into her passenger seat. Elena pulled out a folder thick with bank statements and credit reports. Shared credit card neither spouse knew about. Joint account at First National across town, funded by cash withdrawals from both marriages. How much? $23,000 as of yesterday. I whistled low. That's a lot of smoothies. There's more. Elena handed me a printed email. 2 tickets to Costa Rica. Departure in 11 days, one way, booked under their real names. The confirmation showed seats 12A and 12B on a direct flight to San Jose. Marcus Voss and Nora Harlow, not even trying to hide it anymore. "They think we're idiots," I said. "Maybe we were, but not anymore." Elena started the engine. "I have something else to show you." We drove through empty streets to a 24-hour diner called Mel's. the kind of place where the coffee was strong and the waitresses had seen everything twice. Elena ordered pie. I stuck with coffee. I hired an attorney, she said, sliding a business card across the table. Patricia Wong, family law specialist. She can handle both our cases if we coordinate the timing. Simultaneous filings? Same court date. Same judge if possible. Maximum impact. I studied the card. Wong and Associates had offices in the financial district. Professional, expensive, thorough. What about evidence? Elena smiled for the first time since I'd known her. I work in human resources, remember? I know how to document everything. Photos, financial records, witness statements, digital evidence. By the time we're done, they won't have a legal leg to stand on. My phone buzzed. Nora again. I let it go to voicemail. She's going to try to explain, Elena said. Let her try. The phone buzzed 3 more times over the next hour. Each time I watched the screen light up with Nora's name and let it ring through to voicemail. Elena and I reviewed our timeline, coordinated our legal strategy, and planned our next moves with the precision of generals preparing for battle. By the time we left the diner, the sun was starting to rise over the city's eastern edge. The morning commute was still 2 hours away, but delivery trucks were already making their rounds, and the occasional early riser jogged past on the sidewalk. One more thing, Elena said as we reached our cars. Marcus doesn't know I know about the apartment. I want to see his face when he realizes his perfect plan fell apart. What do you have in mind? Tomorrow night. The gym closes at 10. He always stays late on Wednesdays to do paperwork. Want to pay him a visit? I thought about 3 years of marriage, 3 years of Nora complaining that I wasn't exciting enough, wasn't ambitious enough, didn't make her feel special enough. I thought about Marcus Voss with his perfect smile and his motivational speaker charm, promising my wife a life of adventure while draining our savings account. I'll bring the wine, I said. Elena laughed, and for a moment, the anger in her eyes was replaced by something that looked almost like joy. Premium Fitness occupied a converted warehouse in the arts district, all exposed brick and industrial lighting designed to make middle-aged professionals feel edgy while they sweated on expensive equipment. Elena and I sat in my Honda across the street, watching the last few members trickle out into the parking lot. There, Elena said, pointing to a silver BMW pulling around to the back entrance. That's Marcus. I'd seen photos, but seeing him in person was different. Tall, broad shoulders, the kind of tan that suggested regular vacation time. He wore a fitted polo shirt and moved with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. Motivational speaker, I muttered. What does he motivate people to do? Steal other people's wives? He runs seminars on unlocking your true potential, Elena said. Charges $200 a session to tell people they're not living their best lives. Sounds like he took his own advice. We waited until the parking lot emptied and the main lights went out. Only Marcus's office on the second floor remained illuminated, a yellow rectangle in the dark building. Security cameras? I asked. 4 exterior, 2 in the lobby, none in the back stairwell. I checked during my membership tour last week. Elena had thought of everything. We crossed the street and approached the rear entrance, where a simple keycard reader blinked red in the darkness. Elena produced a white plastic card from her purse. Guest pass, she explained. Expires tomorrow. The reader blinked green, and we slipped inside. The gym smelled like disinfectant and rubber mats. Emergency lighting cast long shadows between the rows of equipment. Our footsteps echoed on the polished concrete floors as we made our way to the back stairwell. What's the plan? I whispered. We talk. We let him know we know. We give him a chance to end this quietly. And if he doesn't? Elena's smile was sharp in the dim light. Then we get creative. Marcus's office door was open, spilling light into the hallway. We could hear him talking on the phone, his voice carrying the same practiced enthusiasm I'd heard in the promotional videos Elena had shown me. Absolutely, Jennifer. The Costa Rica retreat is going to be transformational. Just you, me, and 12 other committed individuals ready to break through their limitations. Elena and I exchanged glances. He was selling the same trip he'd planned with my wife as a business seminar. The investment is significant, but think about the return on your personal growth. $5,000 for the week, plus travel expenses. I did quick math in my head. 13 people at $5,000 each. $65,000 for a week in Costa Rica, plus whatever he'd stolen from Elena and me. Elena stepped into the doorway. "Hello, Marcus." The phone hit the floor. Marcus Voss, motivational speaker and life coach, looked like he'd seen a ghost. His perfect tan seemed to fade under the office lights. "Elena, what are you doing here?" "Thought we should talk." She stepped aside to let me enter. "You remember my friend Kian, Nora's husband?" Marcus's eyes darted between us, calculating. I could see him trying to figure out how much we knew and how much trouble he was in. "Look, I can explain." "Please do," I said, settling into one of the chairs facing his desk. "I'm particularly interested in the joint bank account and the Costa Rica tickets." The color drained from his face completely now. "How did you find out?" Elena sat down beside me. "Marcus, I work in human resources. I investigate people for a living. Did you really think you could hide a $23,000 bank account from me?" "And I fix computer systems," I added. "Digital footprints are my specialty. Your Vitality Holdings LLC was incorporated online. Very easy to trace." Marcus sank into his chair, the motivational speaker facade cracking like cheap paint. "It's not what you think." "Really?" Elena leaned forward. "Because I think you've been running a long con. Steal money from your wife and your girlfriend's husband to fund a fake business retreat. Disappear to Costa Rica with the cash and start over. Nora and I love each other." The words hit harder than I'd expected, not because I believed them, but because of how easily he said them. Like love was just another sales pitch. "Love," I repeated. "Is that what you call stealing from both your families?" "We didn't steal anything. We were building a future together." "With our money," Elena said. Marcus stood up, trying to regain some authority. "I built this business from nothing. I deserve to be happy." "So do we," I said. "But we didn't destroy our marriages to get there. Your marriage was already over. Nora told me everything. You don't appreciate her. You don't support her dreams." I felt the anger building in my chest, but I kept my voice level. Her dreams of committing fraud? Her dreams of living a life worth living? Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Marcus, you're 42 years old and you make a living telling people their problems are their own fault. If anyone needs a life worth living, it's you." "I'm trying to help people." "You're trying to help yourself to their money." Marcus's phone buzzed on the floor where he'd dropped it. He glanced down, and I saw Nora's name on the screen. "She's been calling all night," he said. "Ever since you texted her. She's scared." "She should be," I said. "What do you want?" Elena and I had discussed this part extensively. We had options. We could expose them publicly, ruin their reputations and their businesses. We could pursue criminal charges for the financial fraud. We could make their lives miserable in a dozen different ways. "We want our money back," Elena said. "All of it. And we want you to end this thing with Nora." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because I love her." There it was again. That word, love, like it justified everything. I stood up and walked to the window overlooking the gym floor. The equipment sat silent in the darkness, waiting for tomorrow's customers to arrive and pretend they were improving their lives. "Marcus," I said without turning around, "do you know what I do for a living?" "Elena said you fix computers." "I fix systems, networks, databases, digital infrastructure that people depend on every day. I turned to face him. Do you know what I learned from all those years of troubleshooting? He shook his head. When a system is corrupted, you don't try to patch it. You don't try to work around the problem. You identify the source of the corruption, and you eliminate it. What's that supposed to mean? Elena stood up beside me. It means we're not here to negotiate, Marcus. We're here to give you one chance to end this quietly before we destroy you publicly. You can't. We can, I said. And we will. Marcus's phone buzzed again. Nora's name. He looked at it like it might explode. Think about it, Elena said. 24 hours. Return our money, end the affair, and we'll consider keeping this between us. And if I don't? I smiled for the first time since entering his office. Then you'll find out exactly how creative two angry spouses can be. We left him sitting in his office staring at his phone as it continued to buzz with calls from my wife. The parking lot was empty except for our cars and Marcus's BMW. The city stretched out around us, millions of people sleeping peacefully while their lives held together. Think he'll do it? Elena asked. No, I said, but now he knows we're serious. Good, because tomorrow we start Phase 2. I didn't ask what Phase 2 involved. I was beginning to trust Elena's planning skills more than I'd trusted anything in years. Elena's apartment was nothing like I'd expected. Clean lines, minimal furniture, everything in its place. The kind of home that suggested its owner had complete control over at least one aspect of her life. Coffee? She asked, hanging her coat in a closet that looked like it had been organized with a ruler. Please. She moved through the kitchen with efficient precision while I examined the dining room table she'd converted into a command center. Photos, bank statements, printed emails, phone records, and legal documents covered every inch of the surface. Red string connected various pieces of evidence like something from a detective show. Impressive, I said. I told you, I investigate people for a living. Elena handed me a mug of coffee that was exactly the right temperature. This is what we call building a case. She walked me through the timeline. Marcus and Nora's first meeting at the gym in November. The apartment lease signed in December. The joint bank account opened in January. The Costa Rica tickets purchased in March. They've been planning this for 5 months, Elena said. This wasn't a sudden romance. This was a calculated exit strategy. What about the motivational speaking business? Elena pulled out a thick folder. Marcus Voss Enterprises, incorporated 2 years ago. Gross revenue last year was $47,000. Expenses were $46,000. He made $1,000? Before taxes. His real income comes from the gym, which he co-owns with 2 silent partners, who have no idea he's been using it as a front for his affairs. I studied the financial records. How did you get all this? Public records mostly. Business filings, property records, court documents from his previous divorce. The rest came from social media and professional networking sites. People share everything online if you know where to look. Elena was right. Marcus's LinkedIn profile read like a parody of motivational speaking cliches. His Facebook page was full of inspirational quotes and photos from exotic locations. His Instagram showed him at various seminars and retreats, always surrounded by smiling people who looked like they'd paid good money to hear him talk. Here's the interesting part, Elena said, pointing to a series of bank transfers. Every time Marcus runs a seminar, the money goes into his personal account, not the business account. He's been skimming from his own company. Is that illegal? It's tax fraud. The IRS tends to take that seriously. My phone buzzed with another voicemail from Nora. I'd stopped counting after the 10th one. You should listen to them, Elena said. Why? Know your enemy. I put the phone on speaker and played the most recent message. Kian, please. I know you're angry, but this isn't what you think. Marcus and I were not trying to hurt anyone. We just found something special together, something real. Please call me back. We can work this out. Elena raised an eyebrow. Something special. That's what she calls stealing $23,000. The next message was longer and more desperate. I know you talked to Elena. I know what this looks like. But you don't understand the whole story. Marcus is going through a difficult divorce. He needed help getting back on his feet. The money was a loan. We were going to pay it back. A loan, I said, from accounts we didn't know existed. To a man she'd been sleeping with for 5 months, Elena added. The final message was different. Nora's voice was harder, more defensive. Fine, don't answer. But you need to know that Elena is using you. She's not the innocent victim she's pretending to be. Ask her about the life insurance policy. Ask her why she really wants Marcus gone. Elena's face went pale. She reached for the phone, but I held it back. Life insurance policy? Kian, I can explain. Explain what? Elena sat down heavily in one of her precisely arranged chairs. Marcus took out a policy 6 months ago. $500,000. I'm the beneficiary. You're still married to him. Technically, yes. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Elena, what exactly are you planning? Nothing violent, if that's what you're thinking. But if Marcus disappeared to Costa Rica and something happened to him there, well, foreign countries can be dangerous. You want him gone. I want him to pay for what he's done to us. There's a difference between making him pay and making him disappear. Elena stood up and walked to the window overlooking the city. Marcus destroyed my marriage, stole my money, and humiliated me in front of everyone I know. Yes, I want him gone. Completely gone. And Nora? Your wife made her choice. She chose him over you. She chose his money over your marriage. She chose a fantasy over reality. Elena turned back to me. The question is, what choice are you going to make? I looked at the evidence spread across the table. 5 months of lies and betrayal documented in meticulous detail. Bank records showing systematic theft. Photos of my wife leaving Marcus's apartment at all hours. Email exchanges discussing their future together while planning to abandon their current lives. What do you need me to do? Elena smiled, and for the first time since I'd known her, it looked genuine. Tomorrow night, Marcus is giving a seminar at the Marriott downtown, Unlocking Your Financial Potential. 60 people paying $200 each to hear him talk about success, while he's committing fraud. Exactly. I think his audience might be interested to know what kind of financial potential their guru has unlocked for himself. You want to expose him publicly? I want to destroy him publicly. His business, his reputation, his credibility. Everything he's built on lies and stolen money. I thought about Nora's voicemails, her explanations and justifications, and desperate attempts to make this all seem reasonable. I thought about Marcus's office and his motivational posters and his practiced smile while he talked about love. What about the Costa Rica tickets? They're non-refundable, but I don't think Marcus is going to make his flight. Elena pulled out one final folder. Divorce papers. Patricia Wong filed them this morning. Marcus will be served tomorrow afternoon, right before his seminar. And Nora? Your papers will be served at the same time, at her office, in front of her colleagues. I imagine Nora's face when the process server walked into her real estate office, the whispers and stares from her co-workers, the phone calls from friends and family, the sudden realization that her secret life wasn't secret anymore. She'll call you, Elena said. I won't answer. Good. Let her leave voicemails. Let her panic. Let her realize that actions have consequences. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Nora. I watched it ring through to voicemail and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was being replaced by something harder and more focused. Phase 2, I said. Phase 2, Elena agreed. We spent the next hour refining our plan. Elena had reserved a table at the hotel bar overlooking the seminar room. We'd watch Marcus deliver his presentation on financial success while the divorce papers burned a hole in his pocket. Then, during the question and answer session, we'd ask some questions of our own. What if he runs? Where's he going to go? His bank accounts will be frozen by Monday. His business partners will want answers. The IRS will want to discuss his tax returns. Elena gathered the evidence into neat piles. Marcus Voss built his life on other people's trust. Tomorrow night, that trust disappears. I finished my coffee and stood to leave. The city sparkled beyond Elena's windows, millions of lights marking millions of lives. Most of those people would go to bed tonight secure in their relationships, their finances, their futures. I envied them. Elena, I said at the door, the life insurance policy, you're not really planning to… No, she said firmly. I'm not someone who takes lives, Kian. I'm just someone who believes in justice. And if justice isn't enough? Elena's smile returned, sharp and cold. Then we'll see how creative we can get. The Marriott's conference room was packed with eager faces and open notebooks. 60 people who'd paid $200 each to learn about financial success from a man who'd stolen his way to Costa Rica. Elena and I watched from the bar through a glass partition as Marcus took the stage. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marcus Voss, and tonight we're going to talk about unlocking your true financial potential. He looked confident under the stage lights, wearing an expensive suit and his practiced smile. No sign of the nervous man we'd confronted in his office 2 nights ago. How many of you feel like you're stuck in a financial rut? Marcus asked. How many of you know you're capable of more but can't figure out how to break through to the next level? Hands went up throughout the audience. Elena sipped her wine and watched with the focused attention of a predator studying prey. I've been where you are, Marcus continued. 5 years ago, I was drowning in debt, stuck in a marriage that was holding me back, working a job that barely paid the bills. I felt hopeless. Interesting, Elena murmured. 5 years ago, he inherited $200,000 from his grandmother. Then I discovered the secret that changed everything, Marcus said. The secret I'm going to share with you tonight. A server approached our table. Another round? Please, I said, not taking my eyes off the presentation. Marcus clicked to his first slide. Financial freedom is a choice. Most people think money problems are about money, he explained. They're not. They're about mindset. They're about having the courage to make difficult decisions. They're about being willing to leave behind the people and situations that are holding you back. Elena laughed quietly. Like your wife and your marriage vows. The first step to financial freedom is identifying the obstacles in your life, Marcus continued. And sometimes, the biggest obstacles are the people closest to us. I thought about Nora, probably sitting in our apartment right now, wondering why I hadn't returned her calls, wondering if Marcus had told her about our visit to his office, wondering if her carefully planned escape was falling apart. The second step is taking action, Marcus said. Not tomorrow, not next week, today, right now. You have to be willing to burn bridges if those bridges are leading you to a life of mediocrity. He's actually giving them good advice, Elena said. Too bad he's a fraud. Marcus's presentation continued for 45 minutes, covering topics like investment strategies, debt elimination, and entrepreneurship. He was a good speaker, I had to admit. Confident, persuasive, inspiring. If I didn't know he was stealing money to fund his affair, I might have believed him. Now, Marcus said as his presentation wound down, I want to open the floor for questions. Who wants to share their biggest financial challenge? Elena stood up. I have a question. Marcus's eyes found her through the glass partition, and his smile faltered for just a moment before snapping back into place. Of course. Please, come on in. Elena walked into the conference room with the confidence of someone who owned the place. I followed, carrying the folder of evidence we'd prepared. Hi, Marcus. Thank you for that inspiring presentation. Elena's voice carried to every corner of the room. I'm particularly interested in your advice about burning bridges. Can you give us a specific example of how that worked in your own life? Well, Marcus's eyes darted to me, then back to Elena. I think that's a very personal question. Of course. But you did say you'd been where we are, stuck in a marriage that was holding you back. How exactly did you handle that situation? The room was silent now, sensing tension without understanding its source. Marcus gripped the podium, his knuckles white under the stage lights. I think we should keep the focus on general principles rather than personal details. Oh, but personal details are so much more interesting, Elena said, moving closer to the stage. For instance, I'd love to know how someone goes from drowning in debt to planning expensive trips to Costa Rica. That's quite a financial turnaround. Marcus's face had gone pale. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. How does a man who made $1,000 last year afford 2 first-class tickets to San Jose? Murmurs rippled through the audience. People were starting to sense that this wasn't part of the planned presentation. Ma'am, I think there's been some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said, stepping forward. Just some questions about your financial strategies, like opening joint bank accounts with other people's wives. Is that covered in your advanced seminar? The room erupted in whispers and confused looks. Marcus stepped back from the podium, his motivational speaker persona cracking like ice in spring. Security, he called toward the back of the room. Oh, we're not done yet, Elena said, pulling out her phone. I have some visual aids that might help illustrate your points about financial freedom. She connected her phone to the room's projection system, and suddenly the screen behind Marcus filled with bank statements, photos, and email exchanges. The audience gasped as they saw evidence of the joint account, the apartment lease, the Costa Rica tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena announced, meet Marcus Voss, motivational speaker, gym owner, and expert in unlocking other people's financial potential for his own benefit. Marcus made a run for the side exit, but hotel security was already moving to block his path. The process server Elena had hired was waiting in the hallway with divorce papers and a subpoena for his financial records. The really interesting part, I told the stunned audience, is that everything he just taught you about burning bridges and making difficult choices, he's absolutely right. Sometimes you have to be willing to destroy someone completely to get what you want. Elena smiled at me from the stage, though we prefer to call it justice. The audience was on their feet now, some demanding refunds, others taking photos of the evidence still displayed on the screen. Marcus stood frozen between the security guards, his perfect suit rumpled and his motivational speaker confidence completely shattered. One more thing, Elena called out as the security team escorted Marcus from the room. Anyone interested in a real financial education should probably avoid advisors who are under investigation for tax fraud. The room exploded into chaos. People shouted questions, demanded explanations, and pulled out their phones to record everything. Elena and I slipped out through the back exit, leaving Marcus to explain his financial strategies to hotel security and an increasingly angry crowd of former admirers. In the parking garage, Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. Nora? I asked. Better, Elena said, showing me the screen. My attorney. The divorce papers were served 20 minutes ago, at Marcus's gym, in front of his business partners and half the evening yoga class. And Nora? Served at her office this afternoon. According to Patricia, she cried in front of 3 clients and her entire sales team. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and sadness. 3 years of marriage ending in a real estate office, while Nora tried to explain to her colleagues why a process server was handing her divorce papers. What now? I asked. Elena started her car. Now we go home and wait for the phone calls. Marcus and Nora are going to spend tonight realizing that their perfect plan just became a perfect disaster. As we drove through the city streets, I thought about the audience we'd left behind, 60 people who'd paid to learn about financial success and ended up witnessing the spectacular failure of their teacher. They'd gotten their money's worth, just not in the way they'd expected. My phone buzzed with yet another call from Nora. I let it ring through to voicemail and rolled down the window, letting the cool night air wash over me. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Elena and I sat in the same diner where we'd planned Marcus's downfall, drinking coffee and reading the morning news coverage of what local reporters were calling the motivational speaker meltdown. The hotel had released security footage of Marcus being escorted from the building while angry seminar attendees demanded refunds. Channel 7 called him a financial fraud guru, Elena said, scrolling through her phone. Channel 4 went with love triangle leads to business scandal. I prefer Channel 9's headline, I said, showing her my screen. Local man's midlife crisis costs him everything. My phone had been buzzing constantly since 6 in the morning. 17 missed calls from Nora, 12 from unknown numbers that were probably reporters, and 1 from my supervisor asking if I was the Kian Harlow mentioned in the news. You should probably call work, Elena suggested. Already did. Mick thinks this is hilarious. Apparently the IT department has been taking bets on how long my marriage would last. How long did they give you? 6 months. I made it 3 years. Someone owes Jerry from network security $50. Elena laughed, and I realized it was the first genuine moment of happiness either of us had experienced in weeks. The revenge felt good, but the relief felt better. Any word from Marcus? I asked. His lawyer called Patricia this morning. They want to discuss a settlement. What kind of settlement? Full financial restitution, uncontested divorce, and a signed agreement that he'll never contact either of us again. And if we say no? Elena's smile was sharp. Then we proceed with the criminal fraud charges, the IRS investigation, and the civil lawsuit for damages. His choice. My phone rang again, Nora's name on the screen. This time I answered, Hello, Nora. Kian, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all night. I know, I've been busy. We need to talk. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. Has it? From where I'm sitting, everything is proceeding exactly as planned. You don't understand. Marcus and I never meant for this to happen. You never meant to get caught. That's not what I meant. I put the phone on speaker so Elena could hear. What did you mean, Nora? We fell in love, real love, the kind of connection you and I never had. Elena rolled her eyes. I kept my voice steady. The kind of love that requires stealing $23,000? We weren't stealing. We were investing in our future. Our money. Your future. Kian, please, can we meet somewhere? Just the two of us? I can explain everything. Explain what? The secret apartment? The fake business accounts? The Costa Rica tickets? Which part needs explaining? Nora's voice cracked. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did it anyway. I was unhappy. We both were. You know our marriage was over. I know it is now. There was a long pause. When Nora spoke again, her voice was different, harder. Fine. If this is how you want to handle it, fine. But you should know that Elena isn't the innocent victim she's pretending to be. So you mentioned in your voicemail. Did she tell you about the private investigator she hired 6 months ago? Did she tell you she's been planning this since before Marcus and I even met? I looked at Elena, who was shaking her head. Did she tell you about the fake social media profiles she created to catfish Marcus? Or how she manipulated him into joining that gym where I work out? Elena grabbed the phone. Nora, you're lying. Am I, Elena? Tell Kian about the dating app. Tell him how you spent 3 months convincing Marcus that his marriage was hopeless before you ever introduced him to me. The diner suddenly felt very quiet. Elena's face had gone white. Is that true? I asked. It's complicated, Elena said. No, I said, standing up. It's simple. Did you set this up? Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then, yes. I felt the world shift around me. You orchestrated the affair? I orchestrated Marcus's downfall. The affair was Nora's choice. But you made it possible. I made it inevitable. I sat back down, trying to process what I was hearing. How long have you been planning this? Since Marcus's last affair, the one before Nora. He destroyed that woman's marriage too, but she was too embarrassed to fight back. I decided someone needed to stop him. By destroying my marriage in the process? Your marriage was already broken, Kian. I just gave it a push. Nora's voice came through the phone speaker, triumphant now. See? She used both of us. Marcus and me, you and her. We're all just pieces in her revenge game. I looked at Elena across the table. Is that what this is? A game? It's justice, Elena said firmly. Marcus is a predator. He targets unhappy wives, convinces them their marriages are hopeless, then drains their resources and disappears. I stopped him. By sacrificing my marriage. By exposing the truth. If Nora hadn't been vulnerable to Marcus's manipulation, none of this would have worked. But you knew she was vulnerable. I suspected. I was right. I felt anger building in my chest, but I wasn't sure who it was directed at. Elena for manipulating us all, Nora for falling for the manipulation, Marcus for being the kind of man who could be used as a weapon against someone else's marriage, myself for being so blind to all of it. Kian, Nora's voice from the phone, we're both victims here. Elena played us against each other. No, I said, finally understanding. Elena gave us choices. You chose Marcus. I chose revenge. The only victim here is Marcus, and he deserved everything he got. So, you're okay with this? Nora asked. With Elena manipulating all of us? I looked at Elena, who was watching me with careful eyes. Elena, I said, did Marcus really steal money from his previous affairs? Yes. Did he really plan to disappear to Costa Rica with our money? Yes. Would he have done the same thing to the next woman he targeted? Yes. I picked up the phone. Nora, I have one question for you. What? If Elena hadn't exposed everything, would you have gone to Costa Rica with Marcus? Silence. Would you have taken the money and disappeared without a word? More silence. Answer me. Yes, Nora whispered. Yes, we would have. I hung up the phone and looked at Elena. You saved me from waking up one morning to find my wife and my savings account gone. I saved myself from the same thing, and you stopped Marcus from doing it to someone else. That was the point. I thought about the seminar audience, the people who'd paid to learn about financial success from a fraud. I thought about Marcus's future victims, the women who would never have to face the choice between their marriages and his promises. I thought about Elena, sitting alone in her perfect apartment, planning elaborate revenge while her husband stole from her and lied to her face. Thank you, I said. Elena blinked in surprise. What? Thank you. For stopping him. For exposing them. For giving me a chance to fight back instead of just being abandoned. You're not angry? I'm furious, but not at you. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Harlow, this is Patricia Wong. Marcus's attorney has agreed to our settlement terms. Full restitution plus damages. Can you meet this afternoon to sign papers? I showed the text to Elena. Looks like we won. We? Partners, I said, from the beginning to the end. Elena smiled, and for the first time since I'd known her, it looked completely genuine. Partners, she agreed. We finished our coffee and walked out into the morning sunlight. The city looked different somehow, cleaner, more honest. Like a storm had passed through and washed away all the lies and pretense. What now? Elena asked. Now we collect our money, finalize our divorces, and figure out what comes next. Any ideas? I thought about it. I was thinking about starting my own IT consulting business, small companies, honest work, fair prices. Sounds good. I was thinking about switching careers myself. To what? Elena's smile turned sharp again. Private investigation. Turns out I have a talent for exposing frauds. We walked to our cars, two people who'd found each other in the middle of betrayal and somehow managed to create something like justice from the wreckage of their marriages. My phone buzzed one last time, a voicemail from Nora. I deleted it without listening. Some storms, once they pass, leave the air cleaner than before.